Get to know each of the 12 mayoral candidates with KKTV 11 News Know Before You Vote with this in-depth interview featuring Andrew Dalby.
My first question for you is, what do you think the mayor's primary role is?
Well, I've often said I'm a small government conservative, and you can disagree with me at the federal, state, or county level, but the simple fact of the matter is that city government's completely unnecessary. So everything the city does is either something you could do for yourself or something that's being done by a different level of government. Black Forest might not be your cup of tea, but that's not an uninhabitable, desolate wasteland out there. So as mayor, it's the job to manage the city employees, to do the three things that are legitimate functions of city government. Because when we live close together, there are a few things that are just because of economies of scale, they're more efficient and more effective to do together. And those three things are public safety, public works, and public parks.
What are your thoughts on Mayor John Souther's performance? And if elected, would you keep it in the same direction or change course?
I think John's done a pretty good job of what he's done during the 8 years that he's been mayor in office. Obviously, we've only had the strong mayor system for a few terms. There's three terms that it's been in office, that it's been in effect. So it's only been 12 years that we've had this mayoral system. Steve Bach was our first mayor, our first strong mayor. His term there was a little bit of contention, a little bit of growing pains to get used to the system. John's done a lot more collaboration with the city council, and that's good. And so I'd like to continue that. Again, it's not my job to try to tell everybody how to do everything. So I want to get along with the other elected officials and just want to be humble and competent in doing the few functions the city should be doing. I do disagree with John on a few things. I think that he's a little more tax happy than I am. Again, as a small government conservative, I like being very, very, very efficient with tax dollars. I want to minimize our tax and regulation regime in order to allow the private market and individuals to thrive.
How would you propose to stretch taxpayer dollars and still achieve your goals as mayor?
Well, we don't really have to stretch them particularly right now. We're having record high budgets. So I think that the current budget is somewhere around $400 million. Last year's was about $350 million. So the fact that we've got that big of an increase year over year on our budget means that we don't really have to worry about being particularly cost effective and still being able to provide the level of services that people need. I think that, obviously efficiency is a huge deal, and we need to be as efficient as possible with our tax dollars. The things that we need to spend more money on are, again, those three things. Is cops. We are, depending on how you count things, we're somewhere between 70 and 100 cops short of where we've authorized, and we really probably need more than that. For a city our size, we probably need more than the 800 police officers that we have as our authorized strength. So we need to spend some more money there. And then our parks, some of the newer parks and the newer developments that are brand new, they're in decent shape, but a lot of our parks are in really poor shape. Our roads are in poor shape. We've passed the 2C and the TPRTA taxes, and we need to see those taxes being used effectively.
How can the mayor have an impact on homelessness in the region?
So one of the things that we really need to recognize is that homelessness in Colorado Springs is not a supply issue. There are more beds available than there are homeless people on the street. So anybody who's on the street at night is there because of choice. It's either because of mental illness, drug abuse, or just an unwillingness to be able to follow the rules that are necessary in order to get the help that they need. Unfortunately, people have free will. Sometimes they make bad choices. So, it's not my job to try to force people to do things that they don't want to do. It's not my job to try to make them do things that I want them to do. But that doesn't mean that they get the right to make the rest of us unsafe or to destroy the parks and the common areas that we have. So we just need to enforce the rules that we've got to try to encourage people to take advantage of the resources that are available. So we need to enforce the anti-camping, anti-littering, the anti-public intoxication laws, and make sure that those people who are choosing poorly can make better choices.
What can the next elected mayor do to help with the affordable housing crisis?
So I've got 6 kids, and they are all coming of age. So my oldest is 21, next is 19, and then they go on from there. So I am very acutely aware of the challenges that are facing young people in particular who are trying to get started in this community. And when the average house price is $500,000 and the average wage is somewhere around $55,000, that's a seriously out of whack market. And so we need to address that issue. Largely, the way that can be done is regulation reduction. I know that the law of supply and demand is just an iron law. You can't wish it away. So what we need to do is make it easier for people to build houses that are less than $500,000. But a lot of regulations get in the way of that, where people in city council, on some of the regulatory boards, good intentions maybe, but when you start regulating certain minimum levels of lot sizes and other things, that has consequences. And so I own a business, RV storage business, and I was trying to expand because I'm full and I have a wait list. So I bought a piece of property, or had a contract on a piece of property, and I had a good business plan to try to solve, or to make an expansion of my facility. By the time I was done doing everything that the city wanted me to do, it was just economically unviable. They wanted to double my costs and half the amount of spaces that I could put in there, which, that has effects when you try to do those things. So if we reduce the amount of red tape and regulations on a lot of those things, I think that we'd see a lot more development of more modest homes, something that people could afford to get into to start out with, get a foot in the door.
How should Colorado Springs handle city growth given the water constraints in the West?
And that is obviously the big long-term issue. So if public safety is the short-term issue, water use is the big long-term issue. And there are ways we can deal with that. So the city is not desperate for water right now. We need to continue being forward-looking. We've got, as you know, there's the new ordinance that tries to specify a certain buffer. And that's not really the best choice. That is a political ploy, actually, which was pushed through by the biggest developer in town in order to try to box out any competition. So that's actually the wrong thing that we should be doing. We shouldn't be granting a monopoly to one large developer. But the city utilities has done a good job of buying water rights and building some storage. We need to continue doing that and just keep doing the same things that we have been doing in terms of establishing that access to water that we need. Obviously, the drought in the Colorado River Basin is at historic levels, and we need to be very conscious and very cognizant of those issues. But we don't need to play into the hands of one particular company in order to do that.
Finally, Andrew, why should voters cast their ballot for you?
Well, like you said, there's a dozen of us on the race this year, and that's a lot of people to choose from. About half of them are career politicians who've been in office for a long time. If they were able to solve the problems, they would have done it, or maybe they don't want to because that's not in the best interest of their political donors. So maybe they don't want to solve the problems. The other half are newcomers, and I'm very happy to see people being engaged. But as somebody who has managed a team of consultants on some very large projects, I think that I'm uniquely positioned as the candidate who can solve the problems and isn't purchased and paid for by big developers, and not a career politician.
Andrew Dalby, candidate for mayor of the city of Colorado Springs, we want to thank you again for joining us in our 11 Breaking News Center, and we wish you all the best this upcoming election season.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having the time to take me on, or taking the time to have me on.